is back in 2019, and with it we're planning something just a little bit different. Welcome to the first Grand Review podcast for the 2019 FIA Formula One World Championship. It's a new season, which means we've got new drivers, we've even got new teams, and it's a new venture to look forward to in 2019. Welcome to the Grand Review podcast for the Australian Grand Prix. I am Joshua Birch. Alongside me in the commentary box, my co-commentator and pundit for 2019 for 14 of the 21 races this season. Good afternoon, Megan. We've just finished the Australian Grand Prix. We're in our commentary box, and we must admit what a great Grand Prix it's been, and what a great weekend it's been.
Yes, and also, can I just say, 1 down, 13 to go.
For you, yeah. But I've got the whole 21.
It's 1 down, 20 to go for you.
Yes, I've got the whole season to look forward to here. Looking forward to a absolutely thrilling year of Formula One. But let's first start off with some questions. I was at pre-season testing in Barcelona. I saw all the cars out there, so we went there to shoot some B-roll for the actual F1 footage, as I'm sure you might be able to hear a motorcycle outside our commentary box. But I went to Barcelona, I saw the cars at the track. What shocked me when I was there was the pace that McLaren had. But this weekend, they didn't seem to show it as much, did they?
No, they didn't really.
Lando Norris had a good run in qualifying, but we'll get more to that later on. Carlos Sainz didn't have a great run. But Megan, I want to ask you now about the rookies before we get into the free practice reports. Coming into this year, we've got 3 new rookies on the grid. Alexander Albon, George Russell and Lando Norris, all coming up from Formula 2. Which one do you think is going to be the surprise in 2019?
Norris.
Why do you say Norris?
I don't know.
Is there something about him, his racing ability? I mean, you saw him in Formula 2 category.
He was good then, and be in Formula 1.
You have to be the best. George Russell coming up. He's the F2 champion, of course, but he has got the short end of the stick because he's joined Williams, a team which only had 6 days of pre-season testing when everyone else had 8. So they really are on the back foot coming here, and they've got Robert Kubica coming back, which, as we saw this weekend in Australia, he has had a difficult return to the sport. Can George Russell deliver at Williams?
I think he can deliver, it's just he's going to have to put a bit extra work in.
Well, the Brit really is no stranger to having to put the work in, of course. Alexander Albon, the Thai driver, speaks excellent English as well, and his manners is top-notch as well. But he's at Toro Rosso. He's replaced your favourite driver on the grid, it must be said, of Brendan Hartley. So what do you think he can do? He's alongside Danny Kvyat this year.
I hope he hasn't carried the same curse that Hartley did.
Yes, for people who are just joining us for the first time, know that Megan, every time she was in the commentary box for a race, something would always happen to Brendan Hartley, to the point where she commentated on...
I walked in the room once and he crashed.
And he spun at the Belgian Grand Prix, yeah. Megan commentated last year on the Spanish Grand Prix Free Practice 3.
Nearly all of them, actually.
And he had a massive crash. And he commentated the British Grand Prix FP3.
Singapore.
To which he had a massive crash. Singapore, he got taken out. Belgium, he spun. And then even in America, you weren't safe for him. So you really were a bad penny for Brendan Hartley last season.
It wasn't my fault.
Well, that's what she says. But let's get in then and take a look at the calendar for 2019. So we're here this weekend on March the 17th for the Australian Grand Prix here at Albert Park, Melbourne. 2 weeks' time, we head over to Bahrain on the 31st of March for race 999. And of course then the Chinese Grand Prix on the 14th of April hosts the 1,000th ever Formula One Grand Prix. Quite a change since May 13th, 1950, where Silverstone hosted the first ever Grand Prix. Moving on, Azerbaijan is on the 28th of April. Megan Birch rejoins for that one as well. Then it's the Spanish Grand Prix on the 12th of May before the Jewel in the Crown, the Monaco Grand Prix on the 26th of May, the same day as the Indy 500. The Canadian Grand Prix is on the 9th of June before we get back to Europe for the French Grand Prix on the 23rd of June, the Austrian Grand Prix on the 30th of June, before the biggest event of the year, the British Grand Prix at Silverstone on the 14th of July. On the 28th of July, we have the German Grand Prix back on the calendar again for the first time. It's been in successive years since the end of the previous contract with the Nürburgring in 2013. Then the Hungarian Grand Prix a week later on the 4th of August, Formula 1 returning to August for the first time since the early 2000s. The Belgium Grand Prix on the 1st of September as well. A week later, we're in Italy for the end of the European season on the 8th of September. Then we're in Singapore on the 22nd of September, Russia on the 29th of September, Japan on the 13th of October. Then we're off to the Americas. Mexico kicks off this time around with the 27th of October, the United States Grand Prix on the 3rd of November, the Brazilian Grand Prix on the 17th of November, and then in 10 months' time, Abu Dhabi concludes the season on the 1st of December.
May I just say that I don't like how they've changed it up.
What, the calendar now spanning 10 months rather than 9?
No, the fact that they've changed round Mexico and America.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of that either. We go to the Americas, it should be America first.
Every
really.
single time I've watched the end of the season, it's always been America kicks it off. But now it's Mexico kicks it off.
Yeah, Mexico, United States, Brazil in the Americas, then back to Abu Dhabi as well.
That means we might finally have a
championship crowned not at Mexico.
Yes, and also at America.
Well, that's happened before, hasn't it? When was it? 2015 with Lewis Hamilton? He was crowned champion then as well, wasn't he? Not in 2016, obviously, but hopefully we don't want that. We want it to go right down to the season finale in Abu Dhabi to get a duel in the desert again. But let's move on then to this weekend. First off, the Australian Grand Prix at Albert Park, and start with free practice 1. Lewis Hamilton was top in the first session of 2019. Interesting enough, the first 3 cars were separated by just 0.2 of a second of Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc. Hamilton's teammate Valtteri Bottas touched the grass with his right rear tyre coming into the braking zone for turn 15. This caused him to lock up and forced him to spin the car 180 degrees, to which he nearly wiped the rear wing of the car off. It got that close. In his first official F1 session as a permanent driver, Alexander Albon lost the rear of his Toro Rosso Honda. Unfortunately for him, he hit the wall with the rear of his car, first of all, and then the car knocked him round to knock off the front wing as well. The session was red flagged while the debris was recovered, but luckily for Albon, he managed to get back to the pits under his own steam. Let's take a look at the times then from the first practice session of the 2019 season. So the first practice session here in Australia got underway, and it was Lewis Hamilton who entered the session fastest at 1:23.599. Sebastian Vettel was second at 1:23.637. Charles Leclerc third at 1:23.673. Max Verstappen fourth on a 1:23.792, followed by Valtteri Bottas completing the top 5 at 1:23.866. Kimi Raikkonen sixth at 1:24.816. Danny Kvyat in seventh at 1:24.832. And Pierre Gasly in 8th at 1:24.932. Kevin Magnussen 9th at 1:24.934. And Nico Hülkenberg rounding out the top 10 at 1:25.015. Antonio Giovinazzi 11th at 1:25.166. Followed by Romain Grosjean in 12th at 1:25.224. Alexander Albon is 13th at 1:25.230. Carlos Sainz is 14th at 1:25.285. Lance Stroll 15th at 1:25.288. Followed by Sergio Perez at 16th on a 1:25.498. Daniel Ricciardo 17th at 1:25.634. Followed by Lando Norris in 18th at 1:25.966. Robbie Kubica 19th at 1:27.914. And George Russell in 20th on a 1:28.740. So Megan, we had quite an interesting first practice session. Valtteri Bottas touching the grass, spinning the rear and nearly hitting the wall. What did you make of that? His error or just a simple mistake?
I think it was just a simple mistake because he could have just locked up, maybe.
He did lock up the rear, but he just got on the grass just that little bit with the rear tyre spinning round. Alexander Albon. Now, that's not the best impression to make on your debut for a new team, is it?
No, but it's also a hilarious one.
Yeah, I can see your point with that one. It is definitely hilarious, but so unfortunate as well that he hit the wall in that Toro Rosso and deployed, of course, the first red flag of the season.
Yes.
Right, let's get on to the second practice session. Lewis Hamilton once again topped the practice session with his teammate Valtteri Bottas in second place. The two Red Bulls were just 0.8 off the pace. What was done at pre-season testing by Mercedes looks to be a hoax, as their car is actually quicker than Ferrari and Red Bull. Giovinazzi and Albon both did exactly the same as Bottas in the first session, clipping the grass at turn 15 and having to go down the escape route. As the session ended, Charles Leclerc, coming out of turn 4, ran slightly wide, and that was enough to unsettle the back end of the Ferrari, and he was sent into a 180-degree spin. Luckily, he didn't manage to damage the car ahead of free practice 3 tomorrow morning. Let's take a look at the times now from the second session for this Australian Grand Prix. So Lewis Hamilton once again tops the second practice session here in Australia at 122.6. Valtteri Bottas is second at 122.648. Max Verstappen third at 123.4. Pierre Gasly in fourth at 123.442. Sebastian Vettel fifth at 123.473, followed by Kimi Raikkonen in sixth at 123.572. Nico Hülkenberg seventh at 123.574. Daniel Ricciardo eighth at 123.644. Charles Leclerc ninth at 123.754. Followed by Romain Grosjean in 10th place at 123.814. Followed by Danny Kvyat 11th at 123.933. Kevin Magnussen 12th at 123.988. 13th for Lance Stroll at 124.011, followed by Carlos Sainz 14th at 124.133. Antonio Giovinazzi in 15th at 124.293. Sergio Perez is 16th at 124.401. Alexander Albon 17th at 124.675. Lando Norris 18th at 124.733. George Russell in 19th on a 126.453. And Robert Kubica in 20th on a 126.655. So Megan, anything you want to bring up that you noticed in the second practice session?
Yes, turn 15.
Is this the lockups for Giovinazzi and Albon and the spins down the escape road, very similar to Bottas?
And also Raikkonen.
Off at turn 1, yes.
Yeah, that was quite funny. And it's also... what was it?
Charles Leclerc?
Yes,
Spinning, yes.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Also, the corner needs to be extended.
Is this turn 15? I was just about to bring you up on that. Turn 15 is the tightest corner on the track. You've raced it. I've raced it on the simulator. It is very tricky, and I agree with you. It should be extended because
I always crash into the wall.
It's too tight. It's an old school part of the circuit. It's too tight. So
it's when the cars were smaller.
Agreed. Definitely agreed. So, without a doubt, let's move on to the third practice session. Lewis Hamilton once again topped the third practice session in Albert Park with his teammate Valtteri Bottas alongside. Hamilton doing a grand slam of practice sessions. Not much really happened in the third session. Everyone was very much concentrating on getting their cars ready for qualifying. The only interesting thing to note was that Robert Kubica, pushing a little bit too hard, tapped the wall coming into the pit lane and damaged the floor of his Williams. That's going to be something to watch out for in the coming weekend. So let's take a look now at the times from the third practice session. So the third practice session sees Lewis Hamilton making a clean sweep across Friday and Saturday's practice on 122.292. Sebastian Vettel second on 122.556. Charles Leclerc third on 122.749. Romain Grosjean fourth on a 123.112. Kevin Magnussen is fifth on a 123.334. Pierre Gasly sixth on a 123.367. Valtteri Bottas seventh on 123.422. The same time as Danny Kvyat in 8th on a 123.442. Max Verstappen is 9th on a 123.481. Daniel Ricciardo 10th on a 123.695. Nico Hulkenberg 11th on 123.737. Antonio Giovinazzi 12th on 123.831. Carlos Sainz 13th on 124.049. Sergio Perez 14th on 124.082. Alexander Albon 15th on 124.328. Followed by Lance Stroll in 16th on 124.345. Kimi Raikkonen 17th at 124.402, Lando Norris 18th at 124.568, George Russell 19th on a 125.944, and Robert Kubica in 20th at 126.589. So Megan, Mercedes, despite what they said in pre-season testing that they were slower than Ferrari, topping all 3 practice sessions, they're quicker than Ferrari. Definitely lying and definitely sandbagging. Do you think they can take pole position in qualifying?
I think they always can take pole position because they're naturally a faster team. And you can tell in the cars recently, and I noticed this today, because Leclerc would usually be like in the middle of the field, though he's quite far up nowadays, apparently. Which I think is down to the cars, because you wouldn't see him that far up the field normally with his other cars.
Yeah, he was at Alpha last year and he was bordering the top 10 and now he's going up in 4th position. It's definitely down to the cars, which is a sad reflection of the current times, really, isn't it, in Formula 1, that the top 3 teams, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, they're the only teams you can win in Formula 1 with. But
yeah, because like Raikkonen's swapped places with Leclerc now.
And he's struggling to keep inside the top 10 throughout this weekend.
I think it's all like the engines and makes.
Definitely. Oh, it's strange with the engines, really, isn't it? Because Mercedes, Ferrari and Honda all deliver to different teams. Mercedes provide engines for Williams and they're the backmarkers so
and
far.
yet Williams do awful.
Yeah, and they also apply them to Force India. They do all right. So it just shows you what aerodynamics plays a part.
Maybe they do something to the engines.
You wouldn't be the first person to suggest that, and that's why I call you Eddie Jordan, because you always spot the controversy and throw it in there, and you're always a quite lively person as well to have in the commentary box. So then, without further ado, let's get into qualifying, and it was an interesting one in the first session. Qualifying 1 saw the usual suspects disappear. Unfortunately, we saw the loss of Lance Stroll in the Racing Point Force India. He starts 16th on the grid. Now, he had a difficult qualifying. He locked up on his first run, didn't get the running order he needed, and then on his last lap, he went when everybody went a second quicker. So he got knocked out and put into 16th place on the grid. Pierre Gasly, the big surprise in qualifying 1, he was eliminated after being in the Red Bull for the first time, and he just lacked the pace. He went out in a big group of cars, got a lot of traffic, and lost out overall. So that was a big loss for him. Carlos Sainz 18th for the McLaren. Similar situation, did qualify in the top 15 to get through to Q2, but again, so many cars above him were on the faster laps, on the faster tyres. The track temperature rocketed up, so the track got quicker and quicker, and Sainz lost out. George Russell, on his debut, we know that the Williams is poor, and unfortunately after limited pre-season testing, he only got 19th overall. And Robert Kubica was 20th. He was 3 seconds off the pace in the qualifying 1, but that wasn't exactly his fault. Apparently, according to him, after he came into turn 9 at the exit, the car gripped and had too much power, and it launched him into the wall, causing a rear right puncture. Now, this is the second crash he's had this weekend where it's questionable about car control. He came into the pit lane in practice, hit the wall and caused damage to the floor. Now he's come out of turn 9 and hit the exit wall before turn 10 and 11. So you've just got to question, what is happening with Robert Kubica as he gets used to driving a Formula 1 car again around Albert Park. He does start last on the grid, but he's got a lot more tyres to look forward to using, so expect him maybe to get up the field quite quickly, especially early on. Right, qualifying 2 then. Well, Nico Hulkenberg was the first one eliminated in the Renault, and he was originally through to qualifying 3, but Lando Norris went into Q3, knocked him out, as well as Sergio Perez went fastest on the last run. That knocked him out of qualifying. Daniel Ricciardo eliminated straight away. He couldn't get a time fast enough in that new Renault. He was 12th fastest overall. Alexander Albon, 13th in the Toro Rosso. A superb job out-qualifying his teammate Danny Kvyat as well. So Alexander Albon on his debut in that Red Bull Toro Rosso Honda doing a great job. As we already said, Antonio Giovinazzi in Alfa Romeo, 14th on the grid as well. Not out-qualified. Did not out-qualify Kimi Raikkonen, but still a strong effort for him. Clean session, but again, the track was quick at the end, just lost out on time overall. And Danny Kvyat, on his return to Formula 1, starts 15th on the grid, which is disappointing, but he was under investigation for blocking Sergio Perez as he came out in qualifying one of his pit lane because it was an unsafe pit stop release, but no charges were brought against him for that one. Right, let's move into the top 10 in qualifying 3. For the 6th year running, every year since 2014, and for the 8th time here in Melbourne, he now holds the record for most amount of pole positions at Albert Park, and he's equalled the record set by Michael Schumacher and Ayrton Senna for most poles at a single venue. Lewis Hamilton on pole position to start off his 2019 title challenge. Not a bad start whatsoever, considering that Mercedes thought that they were about a second off in pre-season testing compared to Ferrari. Surprising. It even surprised them how much pace they got. So I still think they were sandbagging on Friday and early Saturday FP3 because that time was absolutely fantastic. It was eventually 0.4 of a second, nearly a second quicker as I look at it. It's 0.8 of a second quicker than Sebastian Vettel, who is in 3rd place. But it is a Mercedes lockout on the front row because Valtteri Bottas starts alongside him as well. So Mercedes dominating for the first time since 2014 with a complete lockout. Sebastian Vettel starts 3rd on the grid, the same place he started in 2018 and won the race, and 2017 and won the race. So logic dictates that maybe Vettel can have a hat-trick of wins here in Albert Park and win at the circuit for only the 4th time in his Formula 1 career. We will wait and see. Max Verstappen starts 4th on the grid as well in the Red Bull. Not a bad start for him overall. Qualifying could have been pole position, but locked up on his last run, had a poor second sector. That kicked him out. Charles Leclerc brilliantly starts 5th. He did top qualifying 1, but even he wasn't happy with his Q3 run. It felt the car was messy, the tyres weren't gripping, so it's put him in 5th place. So there's more to come from Charles Leclerc. Romain Grosjean in the Haas, 6th place. Strong performance for Rich Energy Haas F1, especially that his teammate Kevin Magnussen is just behind him in 7th on the grid. Lando Norris, the rookie for Great Britain, a dominating performance for him. Dominating in qualifying 1, dominating qualifying 2, and dominating qualifying 3 by putting it 8th on the grid as well. Stellar performance from the rookie, considering his teammate Carlos Sainz starts 18th on the grid. That's a good marker from Lando Norris. Kimi Raikkonen in the Alfa Romeo starts 9th on the grid. Didn't have the tyres really necessary to do as many runs. He only did 1 in the end, like we saw him do sometimes last year in the Ferrari, so he definitely starts further down the grid. And Sergio Perez starts 10th. Just got into the cut-off zone as well in qualifying 2 by going 10th. Stayed 10th overall in that Racing Point Force India. So we've gone through each qualifying session. Nothing to report mainly, so let's take a look at how they line up on the grid then in full for the Australian Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton lines up a pole position for the 6th year running here in Albert Park. He's alongside his teammate Valtteri Bottas on row 1. Row 2 sees Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen. Row 3, Charles Leclerc and Romain Grosjean. Row 4 sees Kevin Magnussen and Lando Norris. Row 5, Kimi Raikkonen and Sergio Perez. Row 6, Nico Hülkenberg alongside Daniel Ricciardo. Row 7, Alexander Albon and Antonio Giovinazzi. Row 8, Danny Kvyat and Lance Stroll. Row 9 sees Pierre Gasly and Carlos Sainz, and row 10 sees the 2 Rocket Williams Racing's George Russell 19th and Robert Kubica in 20th. What a opening qualifying session it was as well. And Mega, we now must talk about something very tragic, as on Thursday when we came into the paddock, news circulated of the untimely death of race director Charlie Whiting, who has been in Formula 1 for over 40 years and has been the race starter since 1999. 97 as well. Megan, we talked about this on Thursday in the preview show. What's your favourite memory of Charlie?
When he was doing the lights and he forgot to press out.
And we were holding there for like 10 seconds, weren't we, before he hit
More
the
like
green?
30.
It's a long time.
I remember
isn't it,
it's
the
like
lights?
5 lights.
And it just waited for ages before they went out. Yes, that was Spanish Grand Prix, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it was. My favourite memory of Charlie was the Belgium Grand Prix back in 2016. I was commentating, and we were in our UK studio at that point, and the crash between Kevin Magnussen at the top of Radion, and we were calling for the red flags to come out for this race to be stopped. It needed a lot more repairing, and then the red flag came out, and it was a moment between us because we were calling for Charlie to stop the race, and then he did stop the race, so it was almost like it was subconscious. And of course I only saw him a few weeks ago when I was at pre-season testing. Pierre Gasly's accident, he came out in the safety car.
Did he look well?
He looked fine. That's what was tragic. He looked absolutely fine, and he was giving that Mercedes-Benz safety car the beans. I even stood outside his office in race control.
It must have been so unexpected because he died in his sleep.
It was definitely unexpected, and our entire race day coverage today has been dedicated to Charlie Whiting as well. There was a minute's silence on the grid as well. But Charlie Whiting then has died aged 66, and our thoughts are with him and his friends and family. He has left a massive hole in Formula One that he can't be replaced by just one person. The jobs that he did in Formula One is going to leave a big hole to fill. Let's move on then to the race, the Australian Grand Prix. Racing with Charlie in our hearts, 58 laps around the Albert Park circuit. Hamilton on pole, Bottas alongside him. Your commentators for the highlights of the race, commentated as live, myself, Joshua Birch, Megan Birch alongside me, and our father joining us this year, acting as pit lane reporter, Ian David Birch. Your commentators, as I said, Joshua Birch, Megan Birch and Ian Birch. A really family affair in Australia. Here's the highlights.
Round 1, the Australian Grand Prix, lap 1.
Now's the start of the 10-month journey that will lead one of these guys to World Championship glory. Action in Australia. Great start by Hamilton, but he's going to be chunked by Bottas down to turn 1. Oh, and already Daniel Ricciardo's lost a front wing. As he hurtles down to turn 1, he's going to cause a kamikaze accident. He brakes just about avoids everybody. Good start from Bottas. He got the launch down to turn 1. Hamilton's already in the back foot. Charles Leclerc going after Max Verstappen defends the inside line. Hamilton on the back foot. His launch control failing again in that system. Brilliant start for Vettel, but he got compromised by the slow starting Hamilton. Ricciardo already falling back down the order.
Replay
The start. Watch Danny Ricciardo. It's a good launch. Albon didn't get it. No, that's Stroll. Oh, he's just broken it over the pit lane bump. That is very unusual. Brilliant to get it stopped though, because that could have been a kamikaze effect into turn 1. He got that one stopped, but he just broke the front wing on the bump in the pit lane exit on the grass. So that's unusual. I've never seen that before.
lap 9.
As we're on board with Carlos Sainz, moved over to McLaren. When I was at pre-season testing in Barcelona, very much a lot of Spanish support for him this year, which was always a worry that they weren't going to support McLaren or Carlos as soon as Fernando Alonso left, and Spain's interest in Formula One wanted to go the way of the dinosaurs. But at the moment, there's a lot of support for Carlos Sainz in Barcelona, and there's a lot of support for him to do well here today.
Lap 11.
But there's a problem there with one of the McLarens, and I think it's Carlos Sainz. Bit of smoke bellowing for the rear. It is Carlos Sainz, and there's a failure already. Fire from the back of the McLaren. Carlos Sainz out of the Australian Grand Prix and becomes the first retirement of the year. This is going to have to be a safety car. He's stuck on pit entrance. The Renault engine has let go, and after there's a fire now at the back. And after looking so reliable and so strong in pre-season testing, it's unbelievable that only on lap 11 the first retirement is yet again a McLaren, and that's black smoke now, a lot of fire. I wonder if it's fuel related as well, the way it's burning, but that is going to have to cause at least a virtual safety car. But if I'm right, there's a fire in the back there, it's going to be bellowing smoke, the marshals are there. Maybe this will be a safety car situation. I can't see it not being nothing.
Lap 16.
Rich Energy has F1 now in as Grosjean pits. Off come the soft, on go the mediums. There's a problem again. This happened last year. Oh, is there a car coming down the pit lane? Then there's a problem with the front left. This happened last season. They want to make sure it's on now. That's going to cost them a lot of time. Not great for Haas. Problems again in Melbourne, just like 12 months ago. And that is going to cost them. They've lost out a place to Lando Norris already. Norris is 13th. And Grosjean now comes out, battling with Danny Kvyat. Kvyat's going to try the undercut. He's got the fresher tires, locks the rears almost. So does Grosjean. Kvyat has the outside line. Grosjean's going to defend the inside line. Oh God, these two are going side by side. This is not good news. Both of them like to crash into people. As Grosjean holds the inside line, Kvyat then backs out, but he's going to try and follow him now up towards turn 9. The best overtaking spot would be turn 9, and he's just got to follow him now through this mini section.
Lap 26.
Look at the train now behind Giovinazzi. Lando Norris is not going to stand for it for much longer as they hurtle down to turn 1, clips the inside curve. It's going to put him off slightly, and that's going to allow Grosjean to have the DRS as well. Here comes Lando. Everyone's got DRS. Who hasn't got DRS? As Lando dives up the inside. Grosjean locks up, and Lando gets ahead. Great move down to turn 3 from Lando Norris. Gets ahead of Giovinazzi. Now look at Giovinazzi. He's struggling for rear grip.
Lap 27.
Here comes Grosjean on the inside, launching in at turn 14, 13 and gets ahead.
Lap 31.
As we watch now for Verstappen trying to get on Sebastian Vettel, the gap is 0.02 at the line, round the outside into turn 1. Verstappen knows he can get through. He's just playing cat and mouse with Sebastian Vettel. Round the outside in turn 3 goes Verstappen. He's going to have to hold it round the outside for a long, long time. He's going to swoop in. A brilliant move from Max Verstappen. Right round the outside of Sebastian Vettel. And he's up into 3rd place as out of the race goes Danny Ricciardo from 18th place. The Aussie is out of his home Grand Prix, and that is near unbelievable in this race. Danny Ricciardo on that 31 retires from the Australian Grand Prix.
Lap 32.
Now goes Grosjean from 15th place. Romain Grosjean retires. It's 2018 all over again for the Haas guys. Absolutely unbelievable as Bottas sets a 1:27.235 and moves in to that fastest lap, taking away from Charles Leclerc. But Haas are out. That is that's 3 retirements and 2 on 1 lap. Grosjean out of the Australian Grand Prix.
Lap 37.
Off into the gravel goes Danny Kvyat. As he can't get it out, is he going to beach himself? Danny Kvyat off into the gravel trap. He's got himself up there, and that was trying to go on the inside of Lance Stroll. Replay throws it up the inside. Stroll, it's got nothing to do with it. Way too deep from Kvyat. Lost the brakes as well, and that was a bizarre manoeuvre.
Lap 58.
This could be very good news for Valtteri Bottas. If so, Megan, what's your opinion on the race been?
Well, to be honest, last year,
What? It wasn't a great year for him.
yeah.
Oh, and Vettel won the F1, yes. And he won it in 2017 as well. Good point there. But either way, he's got the fastest lap. That's 1 point.
Congratulations.
He's got the 25 World Championship points. Valtteri Bottas, a winter spent having to focus for 2019. His contract under pressure. He's got 20 seconds. He can definitely gloat for the first time since Abu Dhabi in 2017. Valtteri Bottas is victorious in Formula 1. Fantastic Grand Prix from him. There's the man who's waiting in the wings, and Bottas has thrown the gauntlet down to his Mercedes teammate of Lewis Hamilton, who comes home to finish in 2nd. The championship for 2019 is on down under, and there's Verstappen coming home in 3rd place. The 2 Ferraris will come home 4th and 5th as well.
Next race, Bahrain.
What a race it was, and it was an honour to have Megan and my dad alongside me commentating for this one. What a season opener it was, so much drama, and Valtteri Bottas coming out on top, not just with 25 points, but also getting the fastest lap one as well. What was your view of the race?
I thought that the race was quite excitable at times and also a little bit dramatic.
Definitely dramatic. It's one of the most dramatic season openers I've seen in a long, long while. It seemed like these era changes they've made created more overtaking, and DRS wasn't used to overtake. It was designed for its original purpose of allowing an opportunity to develop to overtake, and that's what we saw. Let's go through driver by driver then, and I want you to give me a rating out of 5 for their performance in this race. 1 being poor, 5 being top-notch. Valtteri Bottas winning the Australian Grand Prix, having a demon start, getting past Lewis Hamilton into turn 1, and having a brilliant race throughout. I want you, Megan, to give me a rating out of 5. What is Valtteri Bottas' rating for the Australian Grand Prix?
5.
I'm not surprised. Lewis Hamilton in second, starting on pole position. It was his 8th pole in Albert Park. He's now joint with Schumacher and Senna of having the most poles at one venue. Unfortunately, though, he just can't convert it to a victory, and for the 3rd year running stays in second place. But yet again, though, bad start for Lewis Hamilton. It cost him today. What's your rating on Hamilton's race today?
4.
Max Verstappen finished in 3rd place for Red Bull with the Honda engine, collecting 15 points in his name. Megan, what's your rating on Verstappen's race today?
4.
Why?
Because he at least tried.
Very good point. Okay, Sebastian Vettel finished in 4th place, collecting 12 World Championship points for Ferrari. What's your rating for him?
3.
Agreed. Charles Leclerc finished 5th, exactly where he qualified behind his teammate, collecting 10 World Championship points. Your rating?
5.
Why?
Because he's never got this far up and stayed in the exact same position he started in.
Good point. Kevin Magnussen in 6th place for Haas, collecting 8 World Championship points. Your rating, please?
My rating is 3.
Nico Hülkenberg in 7th for Renault, collecting 6 World Championship points. Your rating?
3.
Kimi Raikkonen in 8th place, collecting 4 World Championship points. Your rating?
2.
Lance Stroll, Racing Point, finished in 9th place in his first race for the team, collecting 2 World Championship points. Your rating?
2.
And completing the points, Danny Kvyat on his return to Formula 1 on his 5th attempt, collecting 1 World Championship point for Toro Rosso as well. Your rating?
3.
Good idea. And then completing, we get Pierre Gasly in 11th place as well, not scoring any points, but your rating for Gasly today? In Red
2.
Bull? Yeah, poor performance. Lando Norris in 12th place. Some stellar overtakes in the race for Lando. Finished 12th overall. Did qualify in the top 10, but we'll gloss over that. So 12th for Lando Norris. Your rating?
3.
Agreed. Sergio Perez for the second Racing Point. 13th. Your rating?
1 because I didn't hear anything from him. I even forgot he was in the race.
So did I. Alexander Albon in 14th place for Toro Rosso, the Thai driver. Your rating? Some stellar battles in the race, but
3.
3. Antonio Giovinazzi for Alfa Romeo held up the entire field and created some great drama and some great defending as well. 15th in the race. Your opinion?
A 3 because I heard his name once.
Yeah, and I probably said it. George Russell, 16th on his Formula 1 debut. Your rating?
3.
Robert Kubica in 17th, the last person to actually finish the race on his return to Formula 1. 4 seconds off the pace, has crashed the car over the weekend, but 4 seconds and 3 laps down in the end. Your rating for Kubica's comeback?
3 because I know it would have been difficult for him to actually manage. So I'm going to give him a 3.
And then we can go just very quickly for the DNFs. Grosjean was having a good race until the wheel fell off.
Before the wheel fell off? 4.
After the wheel fell off?
0.
Daniel Ricciardo crashed at the start of the Australian Grand Prix, took off the front wing as well. Didn't have the greatest race, retired lap 28. Your opinion rating today?
1, like his wings.
Yes. And Carlos Sainz in 20th. The first time in the year, retired lap 11 with fire. Your rating, Megan?
I'm going to have to say 4 because his fire wasn't his fault.
I agree with that one as well. He was leading a good race up until then. So, that concludes business from the Australian Grand Prix. Thank you very much for listening to our first podcast. Megan will be back in this podcast at the 3rd round of the season, the Chinese Grand Prix, the 1000th race. Megan returns. We'll have guests, hopefully, throughout the year on this podcast as well. But, Megan, I want you to give me your driver of the day.
Just saying, guess.
Yeah, let's see. Let's just see about that.
Yeah, we shall see.
I want your driver of the day,
I'm
please.
going to scale him off.
I want your driver of the day, please.
Bottas because it's his fourth further victory.
And a dominant performance from him. He's my driver of the day as well. Moment of the race, please.
When Science's car.
Caught fire?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a word.
My moment of the race is Max Verstappen going right round the outside of Sebastian Vettel at turn 3. A world champion move. So that's it from Australia. We leave here with Valtteri Bottas as the championship leader, the first time he's won in Albert Park, Lewis Hamilton second and Max Verstappen in third place. We've got 4 manufacturers as well in the top 6. 2019, it just got interesting. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time for the Bahrain Grand Prix.